All right, Herd. That's going to be the end of today's adventure. Huge thanks for joining, sticking around. All right, we're back. Eastern Plaguelands. This place still smells like something crawled out of the ground, and honestly, it probably did. The sky feels heavy, the trees are dead, and every step makes me wonder if I'm gonna catch something just by breathing. But hey, that's where the experience points live, right? Last time we left off, I was pushing through quests around here, holding it down as balance when I'm solo. Gotta love hurling moonfire and watching things melt while I stay out of reach. But don't worry, if a mob sneezes too hard, I've got bear form on standby. Let's see how much trouble we can stir up today. All right, here we go. Stepping into Scholomance. Nothing says fun night like wandering into an abandoned necromancer school. You can practically hear the walls whispering, and trust me, they're not whispering nice things. This place is crawling with the worst kind of study group. Undead, cultists, and everything in between. And of course, I'm here as the healer. Resto Druid on duty, ready to keep the group alive, while they try to turn this place into a boneyard all over again. The funny part is, every pull in here feels like a pop quiz. Do you remember how to heal through chaos? Or do we all fail together? Let's see if we graduate, or if Scholomance sends us straight back to the graveyard. Now this right here, the Hall of Illusions, one of the creepiest spots in Scholomance. You walk in and suddenly you're surrounded by ghosts, shadows of people who used to be alive. It's like the dungeon itself is taunting you, throwing fake enemies and tricks at your eyes just to mess with your head. And the thing is, half the time you're swinging at something, you're not even sure if it's real until it claws your face. Great design choice for a necromancer academy, right? Train students to fight illusions so, when the real monsters show up, they're already half insane. Every time I come through here, it feels like I'm stuck in a nightmare classroom. Except, instead of failing the exam, you just get stabbed by a ghost. Here he is, Rattlegore. Nothing says fun boss fight like a giant skeleton strapped together with more bones than I knew even existed. The guy's basically a walking anatomy lesson, just, with a lot more smashing. Back in the day, Rattlegore was the gatekeeper of Scholomance. If you couldn't get past him, you weren't making it deeper into the school. And honestly, he hits like a runaway Kodo. Those bone spikes and cleaves will flatten anyone not paying attention. The best part? His lore says he was stitched together from the remains of failed necromancer experiments. So yeah, he's literally built out of other people's mistakes. Imagine being so bad at school they just recycle your bones into a mini-boss. Next up, Lillian Voss. Now this one's different from the rest of Scholomance. She isn't just another mindless undead swinging claws around. Lillian's story is tragic and kind of heartbreaking. She was once a Scarlet Crusade zealot, raised from birth to hate and destroy the undead. But when her father found out she'd been turned into one of them, he ordered her killed. Yeah, real family man. Instead of breaking, she came back with this burning rage, and all that Scarlet training made her one of the most dangerous Forsaken out there. Here in Scholomance, she's not your enemy at first. You see her fighting against the necromancers, tearing them apart with purple fire. Eventually, though, she gets twisted into a boss fight, forced to turn on you. And honestly, it makes beating her feel less like victory and more like putting down someone who never deserved any of this. Lillian Voss isn't just a fight. She's one of those rare bosses that makes you stop and think about the story behind all the chaos. All right, back in my comfort zone. Resto Druid. Healing in a place like Scholomance isn't just numbers, it's survival. You've got dots, poisons, mobs chewing on everyone's ankles, and through all that, I've got to keep the green flowing. Nothing beats throwing out rejuvenation on the whole group, letting those ho-tees tick while I dance around roots and moonfire. It feels like conducting nature's itself, wild growth here, swift men there. And if things really hit the fan, tree form comes out. That's when you stop being a healer and start being a walking forest that refuses to let anyone die. And let's be honest, pug groups can be chaos. People standing in fire, tanks pulling the entire room like they're auditioning for a graveyard speedrun. That's when a Resto Druid shines, patching up mistakes, making it look like it was all part of the plan. Pandaren weren't always a playable race. They got their big introduction here, starting neutral on the Wandering Isle before choosing Horde or Alliance. The zones are gorgeous and vertical. Jade Forest, Kunlai Summit, Valley of the Four Winds. Each area has hidden caves, climbable cliffs, and scenic vistas that make you stop and just look. The Shah aren't just a spooky vibe. Each one represents a negative emotion. Anger, despair, doubt, and they actively affect mobs and zones, making it feel alive. Monks were added in MoP, including Brewmaster tanks who literally drink their way through damage. Totally a Tauren-approved lifestyle choice. Pet battles came in here. Fully functional mini Pokemon battles inside WOW. Collect, level, and battle pets anywhere you like. Pandaria's story digs into ancient empires and long-forgotten conflicts, not just Horde versus Alliance. You get layers of history if you pay attention. Challenge mode. Dungeons were a thing, timed runs with medals, pushing groups to perfect coordination. MoP was where epic cinematic storytelling really started shining. Veil of Eternal Blossoms, the Wandering Isle intro, pure classic Blizzard style. You can still see leftover events from the original expansion that weren't wiped in Classic, like wandering Pandaren NPCs and faction quests. The expansion gave Druids some neat quality of life spell changes, making balance and resto feel more distinct and viable for solo and group play. Ah, Older Man. Now this dungeon is a little different from the rest. It's got that old Titan vibe baked into the walls. The design screams ancient, mysterious, and dangerous all at once. You walk in and immediately feel the weight of history. Stone walls, massive columns, and massive statues that have stood for millennia. It's like the Titans themselves were here, then left a bunch of puzzles, traps, and angry trogs behind. The dungeon layout itself is clever, winding corridors, hidden chambers, and vertical spaces that make exploring feel like you're uncovering a lost world, rather than just moving from boss to boss. And of course, the bosses fit the Titan aesthetic. Massive, imposing, and mechanically interesting. Not just damage sponges. For a druid, it's fun because you can play around with forms. Balance for clearing trash solo. Resto when the group inevitably takes a hit. Cat for sneaky pulls. Bear if something goes sideways. Uldaman isn't just a dungeon. It's a Titan museum with combat mixed in. Ah, yes. The sweet smell of loot. Nothing like Uldaman to remind you why you keep coming back. Every chest, every boss drop. It's a little boost to our stats, and a little validation for surviving this dungeon. As a druid, gear matters, especially when you're juggling balance and resto. One piece of caster gear can make your solo pulls smoother. One little trinket can turn a clutch heal into a lifesaver, and any extra agility or intellect is just gravy. The best part? Watching the loot roll animation and thinking, maybe this will finally make me look like I know what I'm doing. Of course, half the time it's just another bag slot to manage, but hey, at least it's shiny. Ah, classic Uldaman problem. You can never tell which hallway leads where. I swear, these stone corridors have a secret life of their own. One minute you're following the map, the next you're staring at the same statue you just passed and wondering if you've been walking in circles for the last 10 minutes. It's even worse when you're trying to heal a group and they're pulling mobs left and right. You're spinning around, trying to find the right path, tossing out HOTs and hoping you didn't just lead everyone into a trap. Honestly, it's part of the charm. You learn the dungeon by heart eventually. Or you just embrace the chaos and pretend every corridor is a shortcut. Either way, it keeps things interesting for the stream. Ah, Eastern Plague Lands. Not just for quests and mobs. It's a gold mine if you know what to farm. First off, herbs. Plague Bloom and Gold Clover are everywhere in this zone. Perfect for alchemy and flasks. You can even find some Fade Leaf tucked in corners if you're paying attention. Then there's ore. Dark iron deposits are scattered around, along with some mithril veins for a druid. Mining isn't exactly in the toolkit, but tagging these nodes while you quest adds extra value. Leather and hides drop from the wilder beasts, like the undead wolves and plague hounds. You'll always need these for crafting gear or selling for extra gold. And don't forget bones and cloth from the undead mobs. Linen, wool, and sometimes mage weave drops can pad your inventory, perfect if you're planning to craft or sell. Basically, Eastern Plaguelands isn't just about killing mobs and turning in quests. It's also a chance to stock up on mats that keep your pockets and crafting bench happy. All right, we're at Crown Guard Tower. This place is one of those classic Eastern Plaguelands landmarks, a crumbling fortress that once stood as a defensive outpost against the Scourge. Now it's more like a ghost checkpoint with a side of skeletons. The tower itself has a vertical layout, which means mobs can come at you from all angles. Perfect for a balanced druid to use starfire and moonfire from a safe distance while keeping an eye on patrols. And if things go sideways, Restoform is ready to patch up the inevitable mistakes. Lore-wise, this tower was supposed to guard the Crown Lands and watch over the approaches to Light's Hope. Now it's mostly haunted, giving questers like us some eerie scenery and plenty of undead to keep the H-Oats busy. For the stream, it's fun because you can point out the history while dodging attacks, making jokes about how a Tauren dad could really use a coffee here, or maybe a mortar to knock down a few skeletons. All right, folks, confession time. I keep forgetting to switch back to balance after a dungeon. Yep, still stuck in Resto, and I wander into the next quest like, why aren't my spells hurting things? Meanwhile, the mobs are probably judging me for hugging them instead of burning them down. It's a classic druid problem, and honestly, it makes for good entertainment. You get to watch me panic, respec, and finally let the stars do the talking. Balance is chaos, resto is patience, and me? I'm just trying to keep up with both while not dying. Again. Feels like the grind's hit a wall. Eastern Plaguelands is punishing in its own quiet way. Mobs hit harder, quests take longer, and somehow the corpses are just everywhere. But that's the fun, right? Keeps me alert, keeps the HOTs flowing, and gives you all time to enjoy watching a Tauren dad make mistakes in style. All right, folks. Time for a quick break. Even a Tauren Druid needs to chew some food now and then. Can't heal the world on an empty stomach. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. And when I return, we're diving straight back into Eastern Plagueland's chaos. Yachts will be ready, Moonfire primed, and your favorite dad Tauren will be fueled up and slightly less hangry.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base. Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it.
Welcome back, everyone. Wow, that rice was no joke. My poor Tauren tongue is still questioning my life choices. Definitely feeling the burn, but hey, nothing like a little spice to keep a druid alert while questing through eastern plague lands. All right, back to business. HOT's ready, Moonfire charged, and your favorite dad Tauren is now slightly more awake and slightly more dramatic thanks to that spicy lunch. Let's see what trouble we can find next. All right, folks. Looks like we're waiting on the lone hunter to respawn. Perfect time to admire the scenery, dead trees, creepy fog, and the faint smell of, well, you know, eastern plaguelands. I've got time to toss a few rejuvenations on myself, maybe strategize a little, and keep the suspense going. Lone Hunter's a tough one, so when he finally shows up, we're going in full Tauren Dad mode. Oats, Moonfire, and maybe a little dramatic flair for the stream. All right, folks. Looks like it's time for a quick trip to the auction house. Gotta check for gear upgrades, mats, maybe something shiny that makes my Tauren Dad swag just a little cooler. runs are always fun. You get to see what's hot, what's overpriced, and what people are desperately trying to sell. And for a druid, every little upgrade counts. Whether it's a trinket, a staff, or just a funny hat, it could make the difference between surviving a dungeon pull and face planting spectacularly. Let's see what treasures we can dig up before heading back into the chaos. Ah, nothing like a flight path ride, right? You get to sit back, take in the view, and pretend you're on a peaceful Tauren vacation, if only for a few seconds before reality hits and mobs start respawning. Eastern Plaguelands looks even better from above. You can see the twisted landscape, the ruined towns, and all those little hidden corners that make you wonder how anyone survives down there. Makes me feel a little epic, soaring over it all as your favorite dad, Tauren. Honestly, flight paths are the best. No mobs, no chasing quests, just a chance to admire the chaos from a safe distance and plan our next move. Alright, let's talk Undercity. This place isn't just a city. It's the heart of the Forsaken, and it has one of the darkest, most fascinating histories in Azeroth. Once known as Lordaeron, the city above was overrun by the Scourge. The living fled, the dead stayed, and Sylvanas Windrunner took control, transforming it into the Undercity. It's built beneath the ruined capital, twisting the old architecture with creepy tunnels, catacombs, and a ton of undead ingenuity. Every corner has a story. The Apothecarium, the Royal Quarter, the War Quarter, all filled with Forsaken lore, plots, and experiments. And the vibe? Always eerie, always tense. Even walking the streets, you can feel the city remembering its past and plotting its next move. For the stream, it's a great spot to point out details, murals, remnants of Lordaeron, or just the way the Forsaken live among the dead while keeping the city functional. It's grim, but strangely fascinating. All right, Bumahu. Let's lighten things up a bit. Funny facts about Undercity. First off, it's literally a city under a city. You think you're exploring one ruined place, but surprise, there's another layer of tunnels, labs, and creepy undead apartments. Perfect for getting lost and blaming it on map design. Second, the Forsaken run a postal system with undead mail carriers. Imagine a skeleton delivering letters while a plague rat scurries past. Efficiency meets horror. Third, the apothecarium experiments are questionable. Ever notice some potions make people explode? It's not a bug, it's science. Fourth, the guards here are undead, but they still salute each other. You can't help but wonder if they even remember why, or if it's just habit. Fifth, you can find a ton of little Easter eggs, like skeletons playing cards, rats stealing tiny items, and Forsaken having surprisingly domestic moments. Even in a city of the dead, someone's doing chores. Undercity is creepy, yes, but it's full of these little absurdities that make exploring it entertaining for both adventurers and viewers. Ah, the classic bag struggle. Only 8 slot bags right now, so inventory management is a real thing. Every quest reward, every drop, every little herb or ore has to be considered. It's funny how you can go from feeling powerful to panic mode just because your bags are full. You gotta prioritize. Do I need that crafting mat? Or do I really want that slightly better sword I'll probably replace in 10 levels? For the stream, this is always a relatable moment. Everyone's been there. Fighting, questing, looting, and then... Oh no, my bag is full again. Time to either vendor, bank, or just stare at it and hope the next drop is worth the mess.
All right, folks.
All right, folks, back to the grind. Dungeon queuing and questing. Time to get that XP moving and maybe grab some loot along the way. Queues can take a bit, so while we wait, perfect time to pull mobs for quests, practice some balance rotations, and keep an eye out for anything interesting in the zone. Every kill, every quest turn in, it all adds up. And when the dungeon pops, we switch gears, resto mode on, ho teas ready, and dive straight into chaos with the group. Balance for solo, resto for group, simple as that, but always entertaining for the stream. All right, folks, we're heading into Dire Maul, one of the classic overgrown, chaotic dungeons in all of Azeroth. Trees, vines, and ogres everywhere. It's basically a forest that decided to become a dungeon. Dire Maul has 3 wings, east, west, and north, each with its own style, bosses, and lore. East is where the ogre mages hang out. North is all about the elite ogres and treasures. And west, well, west is the big chaotic mess full of druids of the Fang and other surprises. For a druid, this dungeon is a playground. Balance form for pulling trash solo outside. Resto for keeping the group alive when the pulls inevitably get messy. And honestly, the trees everywhere give a lot of personality, like the dungeon itself is alive and judging your movement. Get ready for chaos, loot, and maybe a few, "How did I survive that?" moments. Dire Maul never disappoints. All right, let's dive into Dire Maul lore while we make our way through it. Dire Maul was once a night elf city, ruled by the Highborn. After the troll invasions, it fell into ruin and was eventually overrun by ogres. Over the centuries, the forest grew over the city, twisting the ruins into the chaotic dungeon we see today. Each wing has its own story. Dire Maul East is filled with ogre mages who've embraced both arcane and field magic. Dire Maul North is overrun by ogres guarding treasures and remnants of the old Highborn city. Dire Maul West, that's where the druids of the Fang have made their home, blending the wild magic of the forest with the remnants of night elf structures. It's a dungeon full of history, a city of the past fighting against nature and chaos, and adventurers like us just happen to be caught in the middle. For the stream, it's the perfect mix of danger, exploration, and storytelling. All right, everyone. While we're running Dire Maul, quick plug. If you're enjoying the chaos, the lore, and, let's be honest, my questionable druid skills, make sure to check out the channel, Bot Quest Gaming. We're diving deep into dungeons, exploring zones, uncovering hidden lore, and having a blast doing it. Subscribing keeps you along for the ride, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Dire Maul is just the start. All right, while we're queuing or waiting for pulls, let's talk games. If you're enjoying the mix of lore, chaos, and live commentary here on BotQuest Gaming, there are a few directions we could take next. For similar MMO vibes, World of Warcraft expansions, Final Fantasy XIV, the Elder Scrolls Online, great for exploring, questing, and group chaos. For more story-heavy single-player, Skyrim, Witcher 3, or even Dragon Age. Lots of lore to dive into and perfect for giving live commentary while you play. For fun, chaotic gameplay, Diablo 4, Path of Exile, or even co-op games like Valheim or Baldur's Gate 3. Plenty of opportunities to joke, teach lore, and react to unpredictable moments. Basically, all right, chat, I want to hear from you. What should we play next? Should we stick with more WoW adventures, dive into a story-heavy RPG, or maybe something totally chaotic and off the wall? Drop your ideas in the chat, and let's see what kind of madness we can get into next on BotQuest Gaming. Your vote might just decide our next epic journey. Alright folks, hitting level 40 means it's officially time to think about upgrading to 100% riding speed. Trust me, once you've flown around Azeroth at full speed, there's no going back. Faster mounts mean less time running between quests, quicker dungeon travel, and way more time actually doing fun stuff, like burning mobs or showing off a little while we talk lore. And honestly, watching a Tauren Druid zip across zones on stream. Instant entertainment. This is one of those upgrades that feels huge. You'll notice it immediately, and the stream gets to enjoy all the scenic chaos at triple speed. Yeah, looking back, I really should have grabbed 100% riding speed when I was in Undercity. Flying through all those tunnels and winding streets would have been a lot faster and a lot less confusing. But hey, hindsight is 2020, and now we get the fun of upgrading here and immediately feeling the difference. Everything from questing to dungeon hopping just got way smoother, and the stream gets to enjoy watching me zip around like I finally remembered how mounts work. All right, chat. Let's lighten things up with 10 funny facts about WoW Classic that might make you laugh while we quest. Tauren can literally eat while mounted. Try that on a horse. The original quest text had typos so bad, some players swore the NPCs were drunk. Ever notice rogues vanish, and sometimes vanish into walls? Classic physics. Hunters used to pull everything on the map and call it training pets. Some of the rarest mobs had spawn timers so long, people made bets on when they'd appear. Mages could blink into completely random areas, and sometimes fall to their deaths instantly. Warlocks used to summon demons, and accidentally summon them in town. Chaos ensued. The Baron's chat is still a meme. Players typed so much nonsense, it became part of WoW culture. Fishing wasn't just for fish. Some people fished for hours hoping to catch a glinting fish. Classic mounts were slow. Really slow. Getting to level 40 felt like running a marathon, while everyone else flew past on epic steeds. Classic WoW is serious, tough, and sometimes brutal. But it's also full of ridiculous moments that keep us laughing. All right, chat. Looks like I got a little turned around. Time to head to Orgrimmar to train riding. Can't be running around Eastern Plague Lands at 60% speed forever, right? Luckily, we get to make the trip part of the adventure. Flying in, dodging mobs, checking out the scenery, and maybe even commenting on the chaos we see along the way. Once we hit the riding trainer, 100% speed is officially unlocked, and life and the stream gets a whole lot faster. All right, chat. Next stop, Thunder Bluff to grab that mount. Can't be wandering the world at half speed forever, so it's time to invest in some serious Tauren horsepower. Thunder Bluff is perfect for this. Lots of viewpoints, windy paths, and plenty of scenery to admire while we ride. Once we buy this mount, questing and dungeon hopping will feel completely different. And of course, the stream gets to watch every dramatic mount purchase like it's the greatest achievement ever.